All right, we should be live now. It says I'm live. I don't see the video. Hold up, give me 1 second. Um, let's see. Okay, there we go. Now I see myself. All right. What's going on, guys? We have a nice little 8-game slate to talk about. Well, I shouldn't say nice because, full disclosure, I'm not a big fan of this slate. I'll tell you why like a bit later, or I guess I can tell you why now. There's just almost every single game has some blowout risk, and there's a pool of value guys that are all in play, and no one really stands out as a great play. So as a single entry guy, it makes it really difficult for me. Now, probably better for the multi-entry people, but I just don't feel great about the slate. I'm going to take it easy. There's just blowout risk in almost every single game. And, some guys getting fourth quarter run compared to other guys only seeing 3/4 of a run is going to decide the slate. And like I said, there is almost every single game has a shot to blow out. So that's why I'm not super excited about this one. I'm going to be taking it easy. But all right, let's try to break it down. Tobias Harris actually got upgraded to questionable and now is available to play. So that definitely takes those Philly value guys I talked about out of play. I still like Embiid a lot. I still like Josh Richardson a lot. I still like Tobias Harris himself a good amount. And I have some interest in Al Horford. But everyone else based on the Philly side is out of play for me. Let's see. Thomas Bryant out and Bertans actually got ruled out as well. So a guy like Mo Wagner, I heard, is now going to be one of the most popular plays of the day. I think he's a solid value play for sure. But, there's always a chance Washington still only gives him like 20 minutes. Maybe gives those minutes to a guy like Troy Brown Jr. that can run small ball. So that's not one I feel like overly confident about either. I know he's going to be really chalky. Let's see. D'Angelo Russell's available to play. Unfortunate Jeremy Lamb, season-ending injury for him. Ben Simmons out indefinitely. Let's see. Yeah, so Wizards are starting Ish Smith, Beal, Bonga, Rui, and Mahimi. A lot of this stuff is for Tuesday with the Chicago guys. All right, that basically does it for news. Let's take a look at some numbers, and then we can get to players and their prices. So again, the reason why I'm not a big fan of this slate, again, is because of the potential blowout in so many of these games. Atlanta, Philadelphia, 9-point spread, 228 over under. With Tobias healthy and playing at home against Philly, or for Philly, there is a decent chance this game could blow out. Miami, Cleveland. We all know how terrible Cleveland has been. Even without Jimmy Butler, 7-point spread. There's some blowout risk here, 222 over under. Milwaukee and Washington. Washington in the second night of a back-to-back. And this is, Milwaukee, probably the best team in the NBA right now. A 13.5-point spread, 242.5 over under. So, yeah, of course I love Giannis, but I think there's a better than 50% chance he only plays 3/4. And then, Orlando, Brooklyn. This is one of the more unappealing games. It probably is going to stay close, but very, very unappealing. 214 over under, 4.5-point spread. The Knicks and the Rockets. This game has upside, but also a good chance it blows out. 229 over under, 14-point spread for the Rockets. The Timberwolves and the Mavs. Luka is going to be really chalky tonight. A 13.5-point spread, 239 over under. So, you basically have to get lucky tonight with your stars and hope they get the fourth quarter run, right? If you're playing Giannis, you got to pray he gets, Washington keeps it close. If you're playing Luka, you got to pray Minnesota keeps it close. If you're playing Harden or Westbrook, you have to pray the Knicks keep it close. That's why I don't like this slate at all. One of my least favorite slates of the year, just because of all this uncertainty. I'll tell you the way I'm going right now. I'm stacking Atlanta, Philadelphia, and hoping that game stays close. I like, that's been a strategy I've been liking, doing this year, is playing Trae Young and then running it back with a couple players in the opposite team because, Trae Young, if Atlanta keeps it close, most likely going to see a big game from him. And then also Atlanta, one of the worst defensive teams. That's why I like targeting teams against him. So that's the way I'm going right now. Phoenix, Utah, also a game that has blowout risk, 224.5, 8.5-point spread, Utah at home. And then Memphis and the Clippers, 233 over under a 10-point spread. The Clippers are favored. I would probably, if I was a betting man, I would probably bet the Clippers there, even if Paul George misses. The Grizzlies on the second night of a back-to-back, missing Jaren Jackson Jr. It is just a mess. There's a lot of Memphis value I've heard talked about today. I'm not a big fan of the Memphis value. We've seen Memphis wants to run a big rotation. I know Jaren Jackson Jr. is playing about 30 minutes or so a game, but they could just as well insert Jordan Bell into the rotation, or Kudrich, or Goodrich, whatever his name is, right? They can still run a 10 and 11 man rotation, and everyone play like 20 or so minutes. So we'll talk about that a bit more. But yeah, again, full disclosure, I am not a fan of this slate at all. But let's get into breaking it down. We'll start with Milwaukee and Washington. So let's see. We don't have any starting lineups yet. Let me just refresh this. What? What in the world is that update? Status note, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, PJ Tucker about to land in Houston will play Monday. Okay, well, if something happens with that plane and they get delayed, we could be looking at some Houston value here. So I guess we got to sort of keep an eye on that. Heat are starting Nunn, Robinson, Jones Jr., Bam Adebayo, and Olynyk. Kelly O's a value guy I kind of like as well. But yeah, all right, let's get into Milwaukee and Washington. We'll keep an eye on that, Houston, status, I guess, for the plane. But yeah, Giannis at the top, I think, is definitely one of the best spend-ups of the day. It's just, you have to get lucky and hope Washington keeps it close. That's just why I don't like this slate. Again, I'll keep repeating myself. I'll repeat myself a few more times. It's just the stars you play, you have to hope that the other team keeps it close, because every single star, every single pay-up is in a blowout, has a chance that the game blows out. So yeah, obviously I love Giannis's upside. If the game stays close, he could put up 70+ in this type of matchup. So really like him as a spend up. It's just, do you think Washington keeps it close? MILTON and Bledsoe, I don't think I get to them with Giannis healthy. Brook Lopez being out does change some things here. He was playing about 25 or so minutes a game. Those minutes have to go somewhere. I think the biggest beneficiary would probably be his brother, Robin Lopez. He's at the min price, so he's a value guy I'm considering for sure. Not a super, super high usage guy, but this is Washington. Washington, one of the worst defensive teams. If we get about 20, 25 minutes from Robin Lopez, I think he stands as a pretty solid play. Now, the concern is they have Marvin Williams. They have Ersan Ilyasova. They can even use DJ Wilson. And again, there's a good chance this game blows out too. So those are all the risk here with Robin Lopez. But I think right now he'd probably be my favorite cheap option in Milwaukee. But yeah, like I said, you can still consider Ersan. You can still consider Marvin Williams if you think they get more run. Don't know if you get to DiVincenzo or Connaughton on the slate. And I think that really does it for Milwaukee. On the Washington side, so Beal's obviously in play as a spend up. He's going to be super, super low owned. Like, I would say less than 5% owned tonight. But you could run the stack, right? Like I talked about in my video. If Washington keeps it close, I would say, 75% of the time it's going to be because of a big game from Brad Beal, who's going to play big minutes and shoot the ball a ton. Milwaukee plays at a really fast pace. They're solid defensively, but there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one. Again, 242.5 over under, I believe it was. Yeah. So if you're a guy that's now, you can still play Giannis for cash games and don't play anyone else in Washington. That's completely fine. But I think an interesting way to go about it for GPPs is if you're playing Giannis, run it back with Beal. Because the only way Giannis gets 4 quarters, in my opinion, is if we see a big game from Brad Beal. Other options here, Rui is a guy that maybe gets a little bit more run. No Thomas Bryant, no Davis Bertans. I think he's okay, but 5.7, it makes it tricky to get to him in a slate where, stars and scrubs is going to be the way that most people go. So 5.7, don't know if I get to him. Again, Bertans being out does change some things. He was playing big minutes, like 30+ a night. Those minutes have to go somewhere. Now, I think a lot of people believe it's going to go to Mo Wagner. I think there's a decent chance it could. He hasn't played big minutes recently, but he's a good point per minute guy. Now, my concern is, there's a shot maybe they give those minutes to Troy Brown. They could give Troy Brown those minutes and then kind of run Rui at the 5 or Mahimi at the 5. So that is the concern. I don't think there's an absolute lock that Mo Wagner is going to play 25+ minutes. So, and if he's going to be, what I've heard, he is going to be the absolute chalk tonight. If that's the case, I'll probably pivot and look elsewhere. So yeah, I think Mo's a solid play. I think he will get some more minutes. How many more is kind of up to how Washington wants to go about this. I think he is a solid value play for sure. But again, from what I'm hearing, he is going to be really chalky. And for tournaments, if that's the case, I'll probably look elsewhere. Again, Troy Brown is a direct pivot that no one has talked about. No one. I think there is a shot he is the one that gets the biggest minutes bump with no Davis Bertans. So if you want to direct pivot on the same team, you could always look to Troy Brown, who is going to be virtually unowned, but I think has some upside. We've seen some big games from Troy Brown. He's a guy that can get hot behind the three-point line. Other than that, though, I'm not getting to Bonga or Mahimi. Not going to get to Ish Smith. I think he's okay, but that really does it for me for Washington. Let's move on to Atlanta, Philly. Again, full disclosure, this is the way that I'm going tonight. I'm stacking Atlanta, Philly. Like I said, I really like that way that build for GPPs. I've been doing it a lot this year of playing Trae Young and then running it back with a few players in the opposite team because Atlanta is so bad defensively. And if Atlanta's going to stay in the game, we're probably going to see a big game from Trae Young. Kind of the same thing I talked about with Brad Beal. So I really like that stack tonight. Trae Young is not a cash game play in my opinion. If I was playing cash games, I would not play Trae Young. There's just better spend-ups, right? Giannis is safer. Doncic is safer. Harden or Westbrook are safe. Well, I should say safer, but there, again, there's a good chance all those games they don't see fourth quarter run. So this is the way that I'm going. I'm playing Trae Young. I'm running it back to a couple Philly guys. I really like his upside, and he is going to be virtually unowned. I would say probably under 5% owned. Trae Young is going to be. So I really like his upside. Again, that's the way I'm going for tournaments. I'm stacking this game and hoping Atlanta keeps it close. John Collins is just too expensive. Again, I would much prefer getting Trae Young for an extra couple thousand. I'm not going to chase that big game yet last time out. Other value plays, it's just kind of a stay away for me for Atlanta. No one really seeing huge minutes. I'm not getting a Harder or Reddish or Dead. Deadman's okay, but there's severe foul trouble risk. Don't want to do it on this slate. So really, it's Trae Young for me, and that's it. Let me refresh one more time so we got any more news. Again, I like doing this every few minutes so I don't miss anything. So I'm not really looking at the chat until Alfred Payton ruled out. Was Ntilikina already ruled out too? That is somebody. Hold on. I got to double check that. I'm pretty sure I actually did see Frank Ntilikina out as well. If that's the case, I'd assume Dennis Smith Jr. Yeah, Frank Ntilikina out too. All right, so now that makes Dennis Smith Jr., in my opinion, one of the best value plays. I'd assume he starts at point guard. Keep an eye on that starting lineup news, but yeah, I really like Dennis Smith Jr. now as a value play. Let's go back to Philly, or to Philly now. So, beginning of the day, we thought Tobias Harris was not going to play. That's why I was all over Embiid, all over Josh Richardson, and liked a lot of the other value. Now Tobias is playing, so that kind of takes these fringe guys out of play for me. Now, I still think the top four guys are certainly in play with Embiid, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, and Al Horford. Really like Embiid at 9.5 and no Ben Simmons, and one of the best possible matchups. Again, I know Tobias is playing, but I still love his upside here. Now, I think you can get away from Embiid if you want to. He is going to be really chalky tonight. I think everyone is going to play him. I think there are other ways you can go, so I don't think he's a must play, but I'm playing him tonight. I really like his upside. I like Tobias Harris too. I think he's going to go virtually unknown because everyone thought he's going to be out. But he is still a guy that has big upside in a matchup like this. He can put up 40, 50 plus. Josh Richardson, I still like a good amount of 4.8. He's going to play big minutes. He had a really bad shooting night there against Milwaukee. But I still like his upside here if he's going to get 35 plus minutes in one of the best possible matchups. I also have some interest in Al Horford. He's been terrible, but this is Atlanta, and he's at 4.5. So I have a little bit of interest in Horford. But that really does it. I'm not going to get to any of the value here for Philly with Tobias playing. So all in all, I like Embiid a lot. I like Josh Richardson a lot. I think Tobias Harris and Al Horford are viable as well. Let's move on to Miami and Cleveland. On the Miami side, another situation where I'm not super excited. It is a good matchup, but Jimmy being out does help some things. But like I said, they're a lot deeper team now. They have Jay Crowder. They have Andre Iguodala. They have Solomon Hill. So they have a deep rotation they can run. It's no longer, if Jimmy Butler was out a couple months ago, it was, you play Kendrick Nunn, you play two of the three of Kendrick Nunn, Dragic, and Hero, and then you try to get Bam Adebayo in or something like that. It's no longer the case. They are a pretty deep team now, even with Jimmy Butler out. Bam at 8.5. He's just a contrarian option on this slate. Dragic and Nunn seem priced about right. I'm not going to get to them either. It's just a very stars and scrubs night, in my opinion. Jay Crowder, Duncan Robinson, kind of the same thing. They're not going to play huge minutes. Again, they have Iguodala, they have Sound, they have just all other guys they can use. So I'm not really going to get to the mid-range guys. Derrick Jones Jr. is okay. I think I'd probably prefer Kelly O, though, as a value play, who's going to start. He played 26 minutes in a similar matchup against Cleveland, or the same matchup, I should say. Cleveland runs big, so I think Kelly O is very, very much in play. I think we probably get similar minutes from him, just going off what we saw last game. So he is a value guy that I am considering there at that price. Don't think I get to Iguodala on the slate, and that really does it for Miami. On the Cleveland side, this will be really quick. Not a whole lot I'm interested in. I have no idea what the minutes going to be like for the bigs with Drummond, Love, Nance, and Thompson. If you want to take a shot on like Drummond or Love or Thompson off the bench, go for it. Not for me for single entry. I just have no idea what the minutes going to be like. The guards, not going there either on this slate. There's just no point in my opinion. So that does it for Cleveland, Miami. This one will also be really fast. Orlando, Brooklyn. I have very, very little interest in this game. My favorite play in the game would be Vucevic himself. I think you can run a center stack of Vucevic and Embiid. That's going to go super low owned. If you want to pivot off Embiid, I think Vucevic is your pivot, who's got 50 plus in the last 4 games. Again, really good match against Brooklyn. So I think you can, like I said, I don't think Embiid's a must play. I think you can pivot off him to a guy like Vucevic if you want to. Now, I think Embiid is probably the optimal play, but he's going to be way more popular. Aaron Gordon's been playing great, but again, 7.4K makes it tricky to get to him. I'm not going to get to any of these other Orlando guys in this slate. Just no need for it. On the Brooklyn side, so Dinwiddie and LeVert have been guys that I've been playing a lot recently with no Kyrie Irving, but in this type of matchup against Orlando, I just don't know if I see the upside. They're going to be somewhat popular, I think, but not going to be for me on this slate. Again, and their price points are tricky to get to. There's so many, stars and great matchups on the slate. And there's a lot of viable cheap options where I just don't think I'm going to get to either of those guys. Again, bad matchup too. Orlando plays at a slow pace. It's basically this game is a full fade for me. New York, Houston. So the big news here is that Elfrid Payton and Ntilikina are out. So I assume Dennis Smith Jr. is going to start at point guard. He's very, very up and down, but he is a guy that does have upside. If he's going to get, 25 or so minutes, I think he's a really solid value play. Now, I don't think we've gotten the Knicks starting lineup yet. Let's see. Okay, yeah, there it is. Dennis Smith Jr. will start for Elfrid Payton. Sixers are starting Milton at the point, Richardson, Harris, Horford starting too, and Embiid. So that changes some things for me with Al Horford. I like Al Horford more now as a value play. I have more confidence he plays more minutes. I obviously still really like Embiid. I still really like Josh Richardson. I think Shake Milton is okay value. Let me go back to Philly really quick. What's Shake Milton's price? He's at 3.6. The concern is they have a lot of other guys they can use. They have Raul Neto. They have Furkan Korkmaz. They have a bunch of other guys they can use. They can run Josh Richardson to the point. They can move like Glenn Robinson, get some minutes. So don't really know how many minutes he's going to get. Again, I think I like the other guys more. And now Dennis Smith Jr. is a guy that I like a good amount in his price. Probably going to, I haven't really messed around with my lineup yet, but I might try and get him in now. DSJ that he's starting at that price against Houston. But let's go back to New York. So, no Elfrid Payton, no Ntilikina. I think Dennis Smith Jr. is one of the better value plays there at 3.3. We probably get at least 20 minutes from him would be my best guess. Julius Randle is viable if you think the Knicks can keep it close. He's a guy that does have upside. It's a really, really good matchup here against Houston. It's just, Houston runs small ball, so there's a chance maybe they could limit Randle's minutes. I don't think I get to anyone else here, though. Like Barrett's minutes have kind of been down. No one's really playing huge minutes, so I think it's kind of Dennis Smith Jr. as a value play and Julius Randle as a spend-up, a contrarian spend-up, and that's about it. On the Houston side, my worries are the same with, Giannis, the same with Doncic on the slate. It's just, do you think New York can keep this game close? There's a very real chance this game blows out. So Harden and Westbrook do have big upside. It's just, do you think New York keeps it close? Covington at 6K is viable, but it makes it a little bit tricky at his price point. He's going to play probably 35 or so minutes if this game stays close. The value here, don't know if I get to anyone on Houston for value. Unless something happens with the plane with Westbrook, Harden, and PJ Tucker. Unless that plane somehow gets delayed, they don't make the game or something. But all right, let's talk about Minnesota Dallas. On the Minnesota side, another game where, again, there is severe blowout risk. This is why I'm just not a big fan of the slate. 13.5 point spread. I think, D'Angelo Russell at this price point is definitely in play as a contrarian option. He's kind of in the same tier as Trae Young for me. He's in the same tier as Brad Beal, where these teams are severe underdogs, but if they're going to keep it close, we're most likely going to see big games from them. So I do like his upside. Definitely not a cash game play. Is viable for GPPs. Malik Beasley at 6K, I think, is in play. Even at this price, he's going to be the number 2 in the offense. He's playing big minutes. So I still think he does have some upside here as a mid-tier play. It makes it a little bit tricky, though, to get to him, though, because, again, the slate is really gearing up towards the Stars and Scrubs approach. The value here, I don't think I get to Naz Reid at 5.8, who's been in foul trouble a lot. McLaughlin's out of play, obviously with D'Lo back. Hernan Gomez and James Johnson's prices are up. Jake Layman's going to be available, so kind of a stay away for me for everyone else in Minnesota. It's really only D'Lo and Beasley that I have some interest in. On the Dallas side, I really like Luka as a spend up. If this game can stay close, I think he could crush this salary. It's just, again, do you think Minnesota keeps it close? That is, that's the big question there. So I do like Doncic a good amount as a spend up. The concern is the blowout. Kind of the same thing with Porzingis. He's a little bit more constrained for his price tag. I think he goes very, very under the radar. If you want to get off a really chalky Luka Doncic, I wouldn't hate the idea of pivoting to Porzingis. Now, the bad thing is he is only a center, so that makes it a little bit tricky as well to get him in your lineups. Everyone else from Dallas, there's absolutely no way I'm playing anyone else with Luka and Porzingis fully healthy. Let's talk about Phoenix and Utah. On the Phoenix side, this will be really quick. I have very, very little interest. Ayton's healthy. Booker, Oubre, Rubio all seem priced about right. If I was going to take a shot on one, I guess it would be Rubio for the revenge game narrative, but there's just no way I'm getting to any of those guys for single entry or cash games. On the Utah side, a little bit different. Mike Conley is a guy I do like a good amount. Don't have him in my lineup right now, just the way roster construction works, but I think he's a pretty safe play. We probably get 30 to 35 minutes, a good matchup. He's been getting the peripheral stats. He's been scoring the ball decently. Again, Phoenix play at a fast pace, so I think Mike Conley is a pretty solid play there in the mid-range. Not going to get to Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert there at the top. Bojan, too scoring dependent. Joe Ingles seems priced about right, so it's kind of Mike Conley for me, and that's it on the Utah side. Last game here is Memphis and the Clippers. This is a tricky one for sure because I think a lot of ownership is going to come to Memphis. Now, there's no Jaren Jackson Jr., so those 30 minutes or so have to go somewhere. Brandon Clarke is going to start for him, so I assume we'd probably get some good run from him. He's a good point per minute guy, so I think he is a solid play at this price. He is one of my favorite Memphis plays, I should say, for sure. JV and the Mets are so up and down that there's just no way I can trust it. He's strictly in play as a GPP dart throw. John Moran, that price point, not for me. Dylan Brooks, very scoring dependent, but his price has come down. I guess you can take a shot there. I don't really feel good about Kyle Anderson. Now we get to the tier of guys that it's just like you pick one out of a hat and hope they get you there. This is why I just don't like the slate, because a lot of these value guys are in play. It's just, which one's going to go off is tricky to kind of decipher here. Gorgie Jang's guy, I've heard his name a good amount. Like, he could play 10 minutes. He could play 25. It's kind of up and down. They could run Brandon Clarke at the 5 and maybe just... It's just like, it's a whole mess, so I don't know. He's in play for sure. I have no idea how many minutes he's going to play. We know the Clippers like running small, right, with Montrezl Harrell at the 5. So, there's a chance they could just run a small ball 5, kind of Brandon Clarke at the 5 type deal. Josh Jackson, I think, is probably my favorite value play, as gross as that sounds, for Memphis at least. He's 3.3K. He's gotten, 21, 18, and 23 minutes the last 3 games. He probably gets a little bit extra run. They can run him a bit at the 4, too. He is a guy that is aggressive offensively. We know he's going to shoot the ball when he's out there. So I think Josh Jackson is probably my favorite Memphis value play. Still don't really feel great about it. Melton is viable, 3.9K. He'll get, probably about 25 or so minutes. He's very up and down, though, right? Tyus Jones, kind of the same thing. He'll probably get about 20 or so minutes. He's a viable punt option. Now, my concern is that People think that, with no Jaren Jackson Jr., Memphis is going to run a one-man less rotation. I don't think that's the case. I think that, they could dust off actually Dusty Hannahs, who signed a 10-day contract. Jordan Bell can get in the rotation. He could even run at the 5, right? Like, he matched up better against Montrezl Harrell than Gorgie Jang. They could dust off Goodrich, right? They have a bunch of rats at the end of this bench they can use, and I don't feel great about the Memphis value. I think it's just, you can throw them in a hat and use them for multi-entry, but for single entry, it makes it really difficult for me. Again, if it was going to play one, I think it would be Josh Jackson at that price, just because he's almost min-price. I think we probably get at least 20 minutes from him, so I guess that's my preferred play in Memphis, but still don't feel great about it. Again, I think you throw these guys in a hat and kind of pick from there, like MILTON, Gorgie Jang, Tyus Jones, Josh Jackson. It makes it tricky for sure to try to break that down. But all in all, I think Brandon Clarke is a really solid mid-tier play. I think we probably get about 30 minutes from him. He's a good point per minute guy. And then probably Josh Jackson would be my second favorite play there on Memphis. The other value plays are viable. It's just I have no idea what the minutes going to be like. I think there's a chance they just dust off one of these guys at the end of the bench and or play a couple at the end of the bench, and then no one really sees a big impact from Jaren Jackson Jr. being out. On the Clippers side, we are waiting for Paul George news. If he can't go, that's a boost to Kawhi Leonard. Another situation, though, which I've talked about almost every single game in the slate, is there is blowout risk. There's a chance Kawhi Leonard does not see full 4 quarters of action. So you got to take that into consideration if you think Memphis keeps it close and Paul George gets rolled out. I think Kawhi is a valuable spend-up. Lou Williams is 6.3. Again, it makes it tricky for me to get to him. I'm not going to Reggie Jackson at that price. Harrell and Marcus Morris would be okay options if Paul George couldn't go. So those would be guys kind of dependent on Paul George news. I don't think I get to anyone else, though. So that really does it. Again, guys, I'm not really a big fan of the slate because of all the reasons I've talked about. There's so much blowout risk here that it's just not a slate I feel really, really good about. Let's see. Mo Harkless. Knicks are starting Dennis Smith Jr., Barrett, Harkless, Randall, and Gibson. I mean, you can consider Mo Harkless. He's a very, very low usage guy, though. What's his price at? He's probably like min price. He's 3.1. Sure, he's a viable punt option, too. All right. Let's give you guys my core, I guess, cash game plays. So this is not going to be the way that I go for my lineup tonight. Again, I already told you guys what I'm doing. But for cash games, let's go Embiid and let's go Doncic. There's the spend ups. I like those guys a lot. I mean, you can make an argument for Giannis for sure. But, it's all about, do you think Washington keeps it close? Other options, or let's go cheap options now. I think it's probably Dennis Smith Jr. Him starting at point guard, and the Knicks have no other healthy point guards. I think we probably get at least 20 minutes from him. So I'll include him in there. If you don't want to go there, that's fine. Again, there's a lot of other value plays I've talked about. And then let's see. What other guy do I want to go with here? I think it's probably either Horford or Josh Richardson. I'm playing both of those guys. I mean, I like Horford that he's starting now against Atlanta. At 4.5K, let's go Al Horford. I know he's been terrible. I get it. But 4.5K against Atlanta, we probably get 30 minutes from him in a close game. Let's go Horford there. So there you go. There's the core for today. I really don't feel great about it, guys. Again, this is a slate that I would recommend taking it easy because there's just, again, so much bullet risk in almost every single game. But let's get to some questions here. Thoughts on Jay Crowder? Not for me at that price. It just doesn't really make sense for me to get to him. I would much prefer getting to the cheaper options, a guy like Kelly Olynyk. Would probably prefer Derrick Jones Jr. even. Who is your favorite 10K plus guy? I have Luka. I have Trey and Giannis. Think of switching Trey for Luka. I have Trey and Luka in right now. Again, Trey is super contrarian option. Mo Wagner or Olynyk. So that's where I'm deciding too for one of my value plays, whether it be Mo or Kelly Olynyk. From what I'm hearing, Mo Wagner is going to be very chalky, like 50% owned. If that's the case, I'm fine getting to Olynyk at a similar price. Oubre in play at 6.1 on FanDuel just because his salary fits. Yeah, on FanDuel. I know FanDuel small forward is always a wasteland, so that's okay. Harden, Trey, Doncic, and D'Lo pick 2. Give me Trey and Doncic because that's the way that I'm going tonight. I feel like Gobert is solid play versus terrible Ayton defense. He is like at under 8K, but it just makes it really difficult for me to get to him at that price. Like you're gonna have to go more mid tier to get Rudy Gobert in your lineup, or only go 1-star. Horford or Rui, I think I'm gonna go Horford at his price. Now Rui's a lot more expensive. I'm probably gonna take a stand on Horford. I know he's been terrible, but 4.5K against Atlanta. I think we see a better game from Horford tonight. I hope. Is Curry viable? Possible blowout? Are you talking about Seth Curry, right? Because there's at 5.4, no, I wouldn't do it. It's just too expensive, even if the game blows out. Do you think playing Trae Young and cash games is a mistake? Probably. Again, I'm playing Trae Young. I don't think I would do it for cash games. I think the cash game spend ups would be Giannis and Luka, I think. But again, there's severe blow risk in both those games. So that's just why I'm not a fan of this slate. Why I'm not a fan, definitely of playing cash games or just playing in general. I don't really like this slate at all. Derrick Jones Jr. and Olynyk in my lineup viable. I think it is. I would probably prefer Kelly over Derrick Jones Jr., but you can play both, I think. Got Doncic, Giannis, and Embiid all in my lineup right now. Yeah, so that's probably the way that I would go for cash games. I think that's going to be the popular build is Luka, Giannis, and Embiid, and then a bunch of value. Let's see, Booker or Ayton. Between Booker and Ayton, I would go Booker there, and Dotson or Reggie Bullock or D House, Jeff Green. I don't really feel great about any of those value. I don't think we have to play any of those value guys, to be honest. I guess House and Green, but yeah, Harkless over Dennis Smith Jr. I wouldn't. I like the upside more. Dennis Smith Jr. That's just me. Kawhi and Cash. You confident Memphis keeps it close? If you are, sure you can do it. Again, kind of Paul George news is pretty big there too. What cheese would you feed the dusted off rats? Probably some Swiss cheese, I guess. Small forward looks gross. Favorite small forward value. Let's see. Small forward. That's probably Josh Jackson for me. Yeah, I think it's Josh Jackson for me. I think he's my favorite Memphis value play. Let's see. I'm stuck in utility style with 4,900 left. Who would you take? 4,900. Let's see. I would probably go Josh Richardson if you don't have him in there. 4.8K. He's going to run the point guard a lot. He'll probably get 35 plus minutes. So I think Josh Richardson is the way to go there. Harkless or Bonga. Mo Harkless, I guess. Is Tobias Harris season play? I do like Tobias. He's going to go unknown tonight, too. Jordan Clarkson. Yeah. Favorite Memphis player? Brandon Clarke or Josh Jackson are the two guys I had the most interest in. GPP line, Nunn, Richardson, Gordon, Clarke, Embiid, Doncic, Horford, and Fournier. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, Gordon and Nunn and Fournier are not guys I'm like super excited about, but they're going to be very low owned. Rubio going off. He's starting to roll again now, slumping through February. Yeah. I mean, Rubio would probably be the Phoenix guy I would take a shot on. It's a revenge game narrative, too. But for GPPs, Luka and Mo Wagner, Jay Rich, or Tobias, D'Lo, and Eric Gordon. I think I would go Luka, Mo Wag, and Jay Rich there. Hate this slate. I agree. I completely agree. PG playing. I think he's still questionable, unless there's been an update since I haven't seen. Let's see. Robin Lopez starting. Okay, so I think Robin Lopez is a pretty solid value play. Dennis Smith Jr. is starting too. This makes it tricky for me in my lineup because I have both Embiid and Robin Lopez. I have Luka and Trae Young, so I don't really have a spot for Dennis Smith Jr. So I'm going to have to either take out Robin Lopez or take out Luka Doncic and then go for another spend up. I don't know. I might just leave it as is and just hope Dennis Smith Jr. doesn't go off. I think DSJ is a pretty solid value play right now. Smith Jr., Beasley, Middleton, Randall, Gobert, Conley, Clark, Harrell, GPP. Yeah, so you're going really contrarian today. You're fading all the spend ups, which I think is the mid tier is super, super low owned today. But there are some good mid tier plays, and you have a lot of them in your lineup. Guy like Beasley, a guy like Randall, a guy like Gobert, Conley, Clark, Harrell. Those are all guys I like in the mid range, and no one's going to play them because everyone's going to stars and scrubs. I do like that build for GPPs because it's super, super contrarian. Do you think Dragic a good DSJ pivot at the position due to blowout thoughts? I mean, there's a chance he wouldn't even get the blowout run. I think he's okay, but he just seems priced about right. Can you run Wagner and Troy Brown in the same GPP lineup? Enough upside? They're both really cheap. I think it's okay. It's probably not ideal, but I think you can do it. You like Troy Brown? I just think Troy Brown's an interesting pivot off of a high on Mo Wagner. Mo Wagner's the better point per minute guy for sure. He's probably the better option, but there's a chance, Bertans play those big minutes. Everyone thinks a lot of those minutes are going to go to Mo Wagner. I think he probably will get a little bit more run, but I think Troy Brown is a candidate to get a lot more run as well. Thoughts on Dennis Smith Jr., Nunn, Kawhi, Wagner, Joel Embiid, D'Lo, Kellyo, and Clarke? I like that. No issues there. Rocco for Houston. He's a viable play, but again, the mid-tier range is a little bit tricky to get to. He'll probably get 35-plus minutes. He's been playing well. He's been getting run at the center. So, yeah, I think Rocco's pretty solid. Lopez or Kelly Olynyk? For the price, give me Robin Lopez at min price. But I think both those guys are definitely in play. Do you like George Hill at all min price? I think George Hill is actually in play. Not a lot of people are talking about him. He's min price. He probably gets 20 or so minutes. George Hill is a viable punt option as well. Jordan or Harrell at center. I would prefer Montrezl Harrell. Middleton 7.2 on fan. Do you like George Hill at all? Yeah, like I said, can't play the T-Wolves. Can't see the T-Wolves staying in this game versus the Mavs. Day drinking and DK heaven. Yo, DK, here's my single entry GP. DSJ, Nunn, Josh Jackson, Horford, Vucevic, Trey, DJJ, remember no Butler. Oh, Derek Jones Jr., okay. And sometimes I play hard Embiid. Okay, I like that. I think that's pretty solid for sure. Would you play Josh Richardson? I don't think they have to play Josh Richardson. No, I'm playing him, but I don't think he's a must play. Any interest in Glenn Robinson at all? Probably not. Now that he's not starting, I'm worried about his minutes. Thoughts on RJ Barrett pivot off DSJ? He's really cheap. Well, is he really cheap though? I think he's like 5 something, right? Let's go to New York. RJ Barrett 5.2. He could get a little bit around the point. It's just his price tag makes it tricky for me. So yeah, I guess I have a little bit of interest, but not gonna be the way that I go. Giannis and Hill or Doncic and Mo Wagner in cash. I mean, it's really a coin flip for me because there's about the same shot that both those games blow out. So give me Doncic and Mo, but don't feel great about that. Core 4. Yeah, so I just gave it. It's Luka, Horford, Embiid, and Dennis Smith Jr. Again, guys, I'm really not a big fan of this slate, though, at all. Who's winning us a GPP today, DK? Trae Young is. I'm going with my boy. Trae Young's won me a lot of money. He's going to be super low-owned. Again, I've really been liking the strategy of playing Trae Young and running it back with a couple of players in the opposing team because Atlanta is terrible defensively. And again, we're going to see a big game from Trae Young, most likely, if they keep it close. Do you like Naz Reid? He's too pricey and always in foul trouble. Ayton, Gobert, or Harrell? Of those 3, give me... I mean, Gobert, I think, has the best point... I don't know. I mean, that's kind of dependent on Paul George news, right? If Paul George plays, I don't know if I get to Harrell. So right now, I'll say Gobert of those 3. But if Paul George goes ruled out, I would probably lean towards Harrell. Young, Richardson, Harkless, Olynyk, Embiid, Smith, Horford, and Doncic. Yeah, that's really similar to my lineup. Really, really similar. So, no issues there. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that might be what I do is I just take Robin Lopez out and put Dennis Smith Jr. in, and then I might have to move some things around a little bit. Wagner, Clarke, Horford, Olynyk. Who do I leave out in cash? I would personally play Clarke and Horford in cash. So it's either Mo or Kellyo. I think Mo is going to be higher owned, and in cash games, you kind of want to lean towards the higher owned guy because if you don't have him and Mo Wagner goes off, you're in trouble. So I guess leave Kellyo out of it. Are you looking Covington? I have some interest there in Covington. Thoughts on Harden, Young, low ownership? Like I said, I really like Trae Young. Harden is viable too. It's all about, do you think the Knicks keep it close? Booker, Richardson, or Mitchell, Barrett? I'll go Booker and Richardson there. Thoughts on Tyus Jones? He's in a tier of those Memphis guys you can take a shot on. I think my favorite value for Memphis is Josh Jackson. But, Tyus Jones, D'Anthony Melton, Those are all guys that can have upside games in them. So he's in play for sure as a punt. Korkmaz, Gordon, Iguodala, Culver, or Josh Jackson for a cheap forward. I'll go Josh Jackson. Joe Harris or Dillon Brooks. Give me Dillon Brooks, a buy low candidate. Don't really like either, but I'll go Dillon Brooks. Am I crazy going stars and scrubs? Luka, Trey, Embiid with value? That's the way I'm going, so no. Again, that's my lineup right now is Luka, Trey, Embiid, and some value plays. But that's just the way that I'm going about this slate. There's so many games of blowout risk that I'm just stacking Philly and Atlanta. What about Robert Covington? Yeah, I think Covington's a good mid-tier play. 4,300, have Kelly O and Jackson already. Let's see, 4,300 forward. You already have Kelly O and Josh Jackson. It probably would be Mo Wagner then. I'm just guessing. Let's see, Okogie, not for me. No. Derek Jones Jr. Yeah, I would go Mo Wagner. Leave a little bit of money on the table there. Favorite play in the late night hammer. So late night hammer is Memphis and the Clippers. I would say probably Brandon Clarke or Josh Jackson for me. Middleton or Ports or Porzingis. I would go Porzingis there. Do you like Kawhi as a stud? Again, kind of dependent on Paul George news. Kind of dependent on do you think Memphis keeps it close? So yeah, like he's going to be contrarian. Kawhi is, because I think the chalk tonight for cash games, I think, is Giannis, Luka Doncic, and Embiid. So Kawhi is going to go overlooked. Beal, D'Angelo Russell, Trae Young are going to go overlooked. Thoughts on my lineup? Let's see. You like Beal? I think he's definitely in play as a spend up. And if Milwaukee is, or if Washington is going to keep it close, we're probably going to see a big game from Beal. Beal and Giannis have beef. Like I said, you can run a little mini game stack there. That's viable with Beal and Giannis. Is Tobias solid still? I think so. I don't really think he's gonna be limited. I haven't seen any news from that. Let's see. What time is this Milwaukee lock at? I'm trying to think. Oh, that's at 6. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get Dennis Smith Jr. in my lineup unless I take Luka out. Bear with me for 1 second, guys, because I want to see if I can make something work here. I don't think I'm going to get to anything that I'm confident about there. Man, I don't really want to not play Dennis Smith Jr., but I guess I could just leave out Robin Lopez, throw Dennis Smith Jr. in, and go a little bit more value somewhere else. I'll say it'll be a game time decision for me. Trey over Giannis and Harden. I would not play Trey in cash games, so I would play probably Giannis for cash. That's going to be a surprisingly good game. Let's see. Thoughts on my lineup: Luka, DSJ, Beasley, J. Rich, Giannis, Josh Jackson, Rui, Clark, and Embiid. Yeah, I think that's really solid. Clark or Richardson for single entry. Probably Clark if you can get to him. I do like Josh Richardson a decent amount there. Beal, yep, Beal's viable. Again, he's going to be super low on. What do you think? Who do you like more, Josh Jackson or Glove Robinson? I'll go Josh Jackson there. Marvin Williams, too thin. He's a punt. He'll probably get maybe a couple extra minutes. I prefer Robin Lopez, but he is a viable pivot off of him. Washington is fighting for the 8 seed. They'll keep it close, definitely close. They play better at home. Scared Giannis, limited time. They play Toronto tomorrow, and a blowout can easily happen. Exactly. That's why I don't like the slate. There's this blowout risk in almost every single game. Who do you like more, Josh Jackson and Glenn? Yeah, Josh Jackson. Eric Gordon or DSJ? Give me DSJ. Beal and Giannis are going to bring it. They don't like each other. Thoughts on Troy Brown? He's an interesting pivot off of Mo Wagner. Mo Wagner is going to be really chalky tonight. I don't hate the idea of pivoting off of him to get Troy Brown in, who I think probably gets more run and could benefit more than Mo Wagner. Let's see. Harden, DSJ, or Beal and Richardson. again, it's what you think happens in those games, right? So I'll go Harden and DSJ. Dennis Smith Jr., Dinwiddie, Harkless, Clarke, Horford, Luka, Giannis, and Mo Wagner. Yeah, I like that. I don't really see an issue with that. Where you're going stars and scrubs. You got Luka, Giannis, and Dinwiddie. And then, yeah, I don't see an issue with that. And we're locked. Luka, Nunn, Harris, Covington, and B, DSJ, Duncan Robinson, Robin Lopez. Any upside for Bonga? No, I don't think I would play Bonga. Again, I think the minutes will go to Troy Brown and Mo Wagner. Let's go over some ownership, though, for the first game. I'm interested to see what it's going to be like for Trae Young for GPPs. Trae Young and the Philly guys. I'm intrigued to see what Horford's ownership is going to be like. I don't think a lot of people will be on Horford today, but let's see. So I didn't get in the single entry. I'm in the $44 tournament. Let's see. Trae Young, 10%. Josh Richardson, 31%. Kelly O, 20%, Embiid, 57%, Al Horford, 36%, Robin Lopez, 14%. So yeah, I got a lot of guys in the early game. Let's see, like I said, I wasn't able to get Dennis Smith Jr. in my lineup. I guess I could still try. I don't think that would work. Dennis Smith Jr. there and small forward, 10.6. Yeah, I mean I could and just play Kawhi and leave like 1,000 on the table, but I'll just stick with what I got and hope DSJ doesn't go crazy. Wagner almost 25% in the single entry. Oh yeah, so let me look at some other lineups here to see what some ownership is. Kendrick Nunn, 35% owned. That's higher than I thought. He is a very, very up and down player, and Miami has a lot of if he's not playing well, they can give those minutes to Dragic. Like I said, he had 46 that last game, but I don't know. I think I'm okay coming under that ownership for Nunn at least. Horford, again, 36%. Okay, let's see if we can find some other guys here. Tobias at 14%. Let's see. Mo Wagner at 23%. So him and Kelly O ended up about the same for ownership. I ended up going Kelly O. It was almost a coin flip for me with those two guys. Beal only 5%. I like that. Trey 12%. The huge $4 tournament. I mean, I'm living and dying by Trae Young tonight. I probably should have tried to find a way to get Dennis Smith Jr. in my lineup and Robin Lopez out, but just didn't have enough time. Let's see. George Hill 3%. Giannis at 28%. Thank you, DK. Yeah, of course. Nunn is feeling it again, though. Yeah, Cavs' new coach going to give the young guys more usage. Probably. I don't know what the Cavs' rotation is going to be like. Feeling it, not playing good for 2 games. Multi-entry, Embiid, Wagner, Kellyo, not as chalky as expected. Yeah, I expected a little bit higher ownership for Mo Wagner and Kellyo. Nunn even says he loves going against Sexton because he got picked early in 2018. I mean, that's a good narrative for sure. All right, let me check, see if we got any more news, and then I can get out of here. Hopefully you guys have a good night. Hopefully you win some money. Again, just a slate I'm not super, super excited about for all the reasons I've talked about. Yeah. All right, I'm going to hop out of here, guys. Good luck. If you don't follow me on Twitter, hit that follow button. It's in the description below. Also, just hit over 3,000 subscribers, so thank you guys all so much for the support. I'm going to make a video, a little bit more in depth, kind of talking, thanking you guys, and then, talk about my future for DFS too. So I'll probably have a video up for that in the next week or so. Be on the lookout for it. But yeah, thanks again, guys. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you all tomorrow.